Well, hello and welcome to the Journal of CME conversation focusing on topics within the 2025 Special Collection. I'm Steven Kawczak and I'm serving as the guest editor for this collection. Our goal for this collection is to highlight the tremendous value CME and CPD offers to healthcare professionals and organizations in improving patient care. And one thing we know, or at least I believe, is that the value proposition of CME is universal. No matter where you go in the world, there's a need for good care. Improving outcomes and education is a key catalyst to make that happen. It's not bound by different geographies and cultures, but there is certainly much variety and diversity in the way CME is implemented, leveraged, and used around the world. And we're fortunate enough to have Dr. Alvaro Margolis with us, who's a CME expert. He's a fantastic educator and has a wealth of experience in CME's global dimensions. So welcome, Alvaro. And would you first, as an editorial board member of the Journal of CME Special Collection, just tell us about yourself, your background experience?
Thank you, Stephen. It's great to be part of this team. I'm an internist from Uruguay, Montevideo, Uruguay. For all of you, it's across Buenos Aires, 2 hours by boat, all the way down in South America. And I have a Master in Science degree in Biomedical Informatics, that's Computer Applications in Medicine, from the University of Utah. I've held positions in academic positions, both at the School of Medicine and at the School of Engineering here in Uruguay, and also some academic positions in international organizations. The last one has been the chair of the CPD committee of the International Association for Medical Education, AME. So that's kind of a summary of who I am, yes.
Well, thanks for sharing and for the key role you've been playing in the CME continuing professional development community globally. Why did you join this board?
Yes, and before I answer that, I should say in particular that I'm also the director of a CME company, which is called in Spanish RedEMC, which would translate into English Latin American CME Network. So, and we've been working for over 20 years providing online CME across Spanish and Portuguese-speaking countries in Latin America, but also Europe, Spain, and Portugal. That's part of the experience,
Yeah,
and also part of the experience. And to answer that question, when I got involved into CME and CPD, that was around the year 2000, and that was because I was invited to join a national effort in Uruguay to have a system for CME and CPD. So when I started working for CME and CPD at the School of Medicine, at the Center for Postgraduate Studies and this unit for CME CPD, organizing the national system, the question was how to improve the value of what is being done. Across the organizations and across the ecosystem of CME CPD for for healthcare in Uruguay, from moving from passive activities to more active activities, less influenced by industry, but also more coordinated efforts within each of the organizations and across organizations. So from my start, the value has been very important in the way I see things because of what we did here for several years. I was part of that process. And after working in the company, RedEMC, also think I brought that knowledge for online CME, into what works and what doesn't work. I mean, what does it have an impact? So it's something. Is it just done because it needs to be done, because credits are needed, or because well, this is a business thing going on even for academic institutions, or just, I mean, does it make any change? Does it have an impact? So the value proposition and the value on CME, CPD, that's something that always, I mean, I have it on top of my head also as a physician. That's for me very important. So I thought it was great that the Journal of CME has this special collection. And thank you for
Yeah,
being part of this team.
yeah. Well, thank you for those thoughts and perspectives around the value in general and elaborating your experience. And boy, it'd be fantastic to dive into your experience. Just hearing you recap the work that you have done and are doing, and your involvement in our professional community as well. You're touching on different continents. You're producing continuing education that's multilingual. It's touching on different geographies that have lots of complexities and applying what you're teaching. So, I mean, there's a lot into what you're developing that has global dimensions. And I love how you frame that there you have an interest and a goal to advance that impact because there's value. We're committed to what we're doing because there's value, and you want to see things applied. Um, in general, from your experience, which is just fantastic to hear about, uh, have there been any distinctions around that value proposition? Is there certain areas where CME is more valued than others, or is leveraged in ways that are different based on where you're teaching?
Yes, it's interesting to see that in our region, except for Mexico, CME is not mandatory. So people who engage in our activities and pay for them actually because it's a fee-based model, they engage because they want to keep updated. So when those intensive care physicians or infectious disease physicians or nephrologists or pediatricians, they register for these activities is because they see the value for their own personal um, growth as a professional, and so it's good to see. I mean, since people don't I mean they don't get any reward or they are not punished for not being doing CME and CPD. So uh, it, that's the perspective of the professional growth, and they see the opportunities in these global activities that we organize across the region. It's massive activities, multilingual. They see a value of interacting with other colleagues from their own country, other countries, and particularly with experts from across the region and the world. So, so that's kind of the perspective, and but we always try to get the faculty team to think about the value for the patients and get the patient involved in the planning. And this is very hard to achieve. I mean, changing the mindset of the faculty to get the patients involved in more than a testimonial. I mean, more in a more active roles. This is very difficult. So the patient perspective is more difficult, and the value for the patients, it goes through the lenses of the healthcare professionals, which is not so. I mean, it's not enough, and that's a challenge. And I should say the other thing, healthcare is a team sport. So getting the teams to participate together from the same institution, of course, for example, in the topics that make sense. I mean, if it's something very physician-centered, for example, it doesn't make sense, like glomerular diseases for nephrologists. This is very physician-centric. But in the same specialty, if you talk about diabetic kidney disease, that's 1/3 of all patients under kidney replacement therapy. 1/3 are diabetic patients with diabetic kidney disease, and that's you need a team. It's not just one physician. It's a team of physicians. It's a team of healthcare professionals. The nurses are very important, and the nutritionists, I mean, the dietitians and the psychologists, etc., the social workers. So the whole team So it's very important to deliver the value for those very complex conditions through team-based learning, interprofessional learnings, but also apply to the institutional needs, which are different in every institution, in every country. So that's these are very complex educational proposals, and we've done together some with Cleveland Clinic as well, some of these, but to get general knowledge and science into the specifics of the environment, the team, and the institution to produce some kind of CME, but also quality improvement projects, expanding your CME activity into something that has an impact later. So that's kind of the thinking about value and teams, and also institutional context, which is very important for whatever we do. I mean, every context is different, and so there's not just one size fits all.
Yeah, thank you. Those are like really important elements of the continuing education process. And it's great to hear you identify them and point out that no matter where you're implementing these in the world, they need to be given priority for the goals at hand. And these are, in a sense, universal in nature. And I've been fortunate enough to work with Alvaro where we did implement these together with my organization, and yeah, I'm blessed to have a closed system that's integrated, and so identifying goals and caregivers we want to teach, we can engage things at a team basis because that's how we're constructed as an organization. But I think regardless of what type of organization you're in or where you're at in the world, focusing on quality improvement, making sure that patient voice is there, remembering that given the goals at hand, healthcare is a team sport. He said it so nicely, and often we identify goals for learning, and we approach different professions, but we forget that we have to have those different professions work together for that same care goal. And I thought you had started with a really interesting point. Often in countries you're working, the learners you're working with don't have mandated CME requirements, so they don't have a punitive way of a structured way of learning where if they don't hit certain goals, they're punished, right? They're engaging in learning because they want to learn, and it's part of their professional goals based on the needs that they know that they have, and you're identifying some of the variety around the world where when you encounter learners like that, you have a different level of engagements and perhaps a different level of outcomes, because you have a learner that's more motivated, and so that's really interesting. Another dimension to all of this, I think, probably underlying care, and this relates to your point that the learners and the faculty you engage with do appreciate collaborating together as a community of practice, as you get experts together that know what needs to happen in healthcare and are teaching others about that, and that you're fantastic about constructing diverse faculty with expertise from a global perspective. But that does point out that the world is small in a sense. The knowledge of what needs to happen in care is well known everywhere in the world. It's those contexts that create the complexities of how do you affect that change in different places. And so while the world might be small in that regard, we're also impacted by the rapid change at hand. There's pressures to do things better and more in a more economic way, and to leverage technology to do that so we can do things smarter and if more efficiently, while not compromising quality but improving quality. And so I think technology is another interesting aspect of this whole global aspect of continuing give continuing education or professional development. What are your thoughts about technology? AI in particular is the latest thing that is seems to be changing everything, touching everything, and we can't ignore it. How do you think we should look at AI or technology in general from a CME perspective?
Oh, definitely. Well, technology has been around for a while in many senses, from the integration of the electronic health record with reminders, and that would help learn just in time. That's been for a long while in at least in academic institutions, and later a more disseminated way. And also learning analytics, many other things were before generative AI, but now with generative AI, um, basically you can think about doing I mean, you can think of an impact on CME and CPD in three ways. You can get to do things more efficiently. You can get to do things better, or you can get to do new things that you couldn't do before. That's basically kind of a classification of the things that you can do, and what you can do will depend on your the use cases that you may have in your organization. For us, we work in a multilingual environment with faculty in three languages and healthcare professional learners in two languages, Spanish and Portuguese. For us, in the back office, one of the use cases for efficiency is language management, translations. These systems are very, very good, at least with these three languages, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. They are very good at translation, translating texts, translating documents, translating recorded videos, and also becoming useful in, and we're not doing that yet, in live activities. But in the sense that the quality both of the actual interpreter, that's something that we find out in the analyzing this in further depth. The actual interpreters are not so good as subtitling after it's recorded, because of course you have to do it live. Also, the live interpretation by AI is not so good as it could be. So basically, language is a big, for us, is a major use case. If you work only in English, that wouldn't be the case. But for us, it's a major use case in the back office. So people don't see, they see the same thing that they saw before. But for us as an organization, the efficiency has an impact. But then you can do things better. For example, we used to have mostly videos, and the references for reading were the actual papers in English, and that's a language barrier for the learners. So we started doing summaries of those articles that the faculty selected to complete the study of the topics, summary and translation into Spanish or Portuguese. So 1.5 page translation is not the summary of the paper, but the actual paper that is summarized and translated, like a medical librarian would do. And that's something that improves the quality of the offering. And then you get to have to do things that you couldn't do before. That's the third thing. And for example, you can have a just-in-time personalized tutor when somebody has a doubt. You have, instead of asking in a discussion forum, you can ask the discussion forum and wait for an answer eventually from an expert or from a peer, or ask AI. Or you can do things, ask AI, post the AI question, and then the rest of the people can interact with the question and answer. So you can start doing things that you couldn't do before. So definitely there's a space for generative AI in CME CPD.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. That's fantastic and practical uses. So really helpful to hear how you're putting it to use and others can as well. So shifting our conversation back to our special collection here. So for prospective author, do you have any advice of how to approach this?
Yes, well, as we've been talking, the value can be seen from different perspectives. So think about the value, how to measure that value that you're you're writing about, and also giving some takeaways for the readers, how they can take your experience and put it to work in their own environment. That will be uh, thinking about the transferability of what the authors have been able to do and implement. What will be the takeaways for somebody else in another environment, another institution, to be able to implement the same thing.
Yeah, thank you. That's a fantastic encouragement. You just offered us a lot of great insights and showed the variety and richness of the value proposition of CME on so many different levels. And those doing work can reflect on their work and share about it. Each of you will have a practical insight around the CME initiatives that you're implementing, and that's what the special collection's after, is capture that and share it, because we all want to learn from each other. So and at the same time, it does spotlight and celebrate the value of what we do, which is an important work. So Alvaro, I thank you for your time, and I really appreciate the wisdom that you shared. It's really, really helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you, Stephen.